The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
You're now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
That's what it is. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am, of course, your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is today, which is Thursday, January 12th, 2017. Thanks so much for joining us. You, of course, could have been anywhere in the world today, but you decided to spend some time with little old me. And for that, I appreciate you. The phone lines are going to be open most of the night, 857-600-0518. It has been a crazy 24 hours. Kind of got sick, like what? Yesterday, my kids brought home a 24-hour virus, whatever it was. But I kicked it, and I'm back in the saddle. So special shout out and thanks to my crew, the Progressive Army, for doing what they do. And they do it so well. Anoa Changa, Brandon Sutton, David Grossman, and the rest of the team, but particularly those three for carrying the show last night for me in my absence. But we're back. And, of course, being back, I have to thank my newest patrons, which is always great to come back and open up my computer and be like, well, damn, there's some people who like us enough to actually support. Rocky, thanks so much for becoming a patron. Colby, thank you for becoming a patron. This is a hell of a name. Pent Ultimate Tommy, thanks so much for becoming a patron. Carl, Marshall, Jackie, Suku, James. I mean, wow. Let's take a pause and thank all the people who became patrons since I was away yesterday. So tomorrow you will get a full hour bonus show. And to be honest with you, like the Friday bonus shows have gotten to the point where they're so good, like I actually have to cheat and share some of that content, because it's good. I don't give you a piece of a show on Friday. I give you a full show. Sometimes it's 45 minutes. Sometimes it's 55, sometimes it's an hour, 20 minutes. We just go and we cover the news. We cover the issues like we do. But it's a lot more personal because I'm talking to you, the patrons. Okay. I've gotten pretty good at plug. I remember when I was I used to be afraid to plug the patron, the Patreon, but clearly that's not the case anymore, right? So, so now I do it too much. So let's get to the show. In the news, and then we'll take the calls. I think I want to do an Ask Me Anything towards the end of the show, and within reason, obviously, I got family listening in. I want to cover a couple stories here. This is a story this story is particularly salient for anyone, for the Cuban community, for the Haitian community, for the South Florida community, because South Florida became the epicenter of the controversy of the quote unquote wet foot, dry foot controversy, if to use the same word again. And so with the relationship with Cuba normalizing, it becomes less necessary for America to have the special treatment that they had for Cubans for so many years, since I believe 1994. This is according to the Miami Herald. The Obama administration said Thursday that it's ending the wet foot, dry foot policy, turning the clock on. This is obviously from the Miami Herald, turning the clock on decades of preferential treatment for Cuban refugees and making those who arrive without visas subject to deportation. And so this is basically the policy that brought about 35,000 Cubans to America's shores in 1994 and in the years that followed. We gave them entry into the United States because of our estranged relationship with Cuba and the relationship that we did not have with them. We gave entry into the United States, no questions asked, in many instances, to tens of thousands of Cubans. And this was so controversial because the, Haiti, which is in this, not too far away, same proximity, Haitians would come to America and get turned away and deported. Right. And so it became such a racially charged issue for over 20 years. where Haitians who made their way to the United States would be deported back versus Cubans who made their way to the United States. They got special entry, and ultimately it was because of this special relationship or special exceptions that we made for them. President Obama said in a statement that Cuban nationals who attempt to enter the United States illegally and do not qualify for humanitarian relief will be subject to removal, consistent with U.S. law and enforcement priorities. He went on to say the Cuban government has agreed to accept the return of Cuban nationals who have been ordered removed, just as it has been accepting the return of migrants interdicted at sea. So the special treatment era is over, and essentially this doesn't change anything for the Haitian community. Essentially now Cubans are going to be treated like Haitians. Whoever gets to the shores, it doesn't matter. You get sent back depending on the circumstances, humanitarian aid or whatever the case may be. So this is a fascinating story because I think I moved to South Florida, matter of fact, in '94, and it was a huge thing because the schools that I went to, it was highly multicultural, and it was a great experience, but you had such tensions between the Haitian community and everybody else, and then the Cuban community and everyone else, and then the tensions between the Haitian community and the Cuban community because of the treatment that the United States gave to Haitians versus to Cuban Americans. So now I guess misery loves company. Nobody's getting special treatment. Everybody's getting treated the same, and they will all get deported depending on their individual circumstances and whether or not it's for they qualify for humanitarian relief. All right. A couple of other stories we want to cover, but I'm going to take this caller first. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Ben, it's me, Jared from Downingtown, PA. How you doing?
Doing good, Jared. What's on your mind, man?
A quick fun little fact that your listeners probably don't know. Haitians were one of the few African-American groups that did not support Hillary Clinton at like the same level as like say your average African American group, mainly because of like the Clinton Foundation.
Oh yeah,
in Haiti and
yeah. So you mean Black Americans, just to be sure. So African Americans are
in general. Yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah,
I'm just helping
like,
you. I want to help you with the class. Jared, I want to help you with the classification. So we put a blanket, and it's actually a great distinction. I'm glad you brought it up. African Americans are the Americans, Black Americans, generally born in the United States. They have a direct connection to we're here because of slavery. Then we say generally when we talk about all Black Americans, we just say Black Americans versus African Americans. It's like a distinction in the community. So you have Haitian Americans, you have Jamaican Americans, so on and so forth. But yeah, no, you're right. As far as the Haiti relief efforts by the Clinton Foundation, they have a horrible reputation in Haiti because of all of the different. I mean, we could do an entire episode. Actually, I think we've done an entire. If I'm not mistaken, we did some extensive coverage, or we have some writers at progressivearmy.com that covered it in great detail. All of the scandal of the Clinton family in Haiti. And so you're right. The Haitian Americans did not go for Hillary Clinton by long. Thanks for the call, Jared. I always appreciate it. 857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. All right. So while we wait on some more callers, let's cover a couple of other things that's happening in the news. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So Comey and the FBI, they are under investigation themselves. This was an interesting turn of events. According to the New York Times, the Justice Department Inspector General announced today that it would be opening an investigation into handling of the Clinton email controversy by James Comey. The investigation would focus specifically upon the letter he submitted to Congress in the final weeks of the campaign. Michael Horowitz, I think I pronounced that correct. He's the Inspector General, said that he would be examining other issues, whether the Deputy Director of the FBI, whose wife ran as a Democrat for the Virginia State Senate, should have recused herself from any involvement in the Clinton email investigation. Now, this is, and I don't want to put this, I don't want to lay this particular person. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm thinking out loud here. So there was a person directly connected to the Clinton campaign, and his wife, who was the person basically connected to the Clinton campaign or connected to the Clinton entity through donations, through just different ways of being connected, right? He was a part of the investigation and he did not recuse himself. And so some of the investigation is not only into Comey and in the letter that he sent to Congress, like in the final week, but it's also into why this particular deputy did not recuse himself. So it's both. They're looking at it holistically. They're not really coming in it from just a particular angle. They're just looking at the overall handling. And I think most people can say that it's the handling was questionable. I mean, to say the least, right? The outcome forgetting the outcome, the method in which Comey inserted himself, particularly at the last second, and the method in which, or the fact of the matter that Comey did not go after Clinton. I guess he went after, let me be fair. He went after Clinton, but he took all 14 of the 15 minutes of his press conference was laying out the case of why Hillary Clinton should be charged. And only in the last minute, he changed and flipped and said he wouldn't be charged. So people are looking, I think it's right for them to go in and investigate this at this point, because the handling of it on both sides of the equation is suspect, to say the least. They're also looking into whether or not a top Justice Department official gave information to the Clinton campaign. Peter Katzik was apparently provided information to the Clinton campaign. Katzik is a Justice Department official. A hacked email posted by WikiLeaks showed that Katzik alerted the campaign about a coming congressional hearing. So this doesn't look well. A lot of stuff didn't look good and it didn't play out the way we expected. So I'm not going to pass judgment on whether or not on the severity of this until we actually see what happens. Horowitz has been the authority. Mr. Horowitz has the authority to recommend a criminal investigation if he finds evidence of illegality. But there's been no suggestion that Comey's actions were unlawful. Unlawful is a very high hurdle. So there's a lot that happens between unlawful and between malpractice, basically, and unlawfulness. And we'll see exactly where Comey falls on that spectrum. All right, so a lot of crazy things happening today. Also, C-SPAN. This story was actually funny as hell if you think about conspiracy theories. I don't know, whatever you think about. So C-SPAN at 2:30, the live stream of the House floor was cut, and it was replaced by the jingle for RT, Russia Today, which is, of course, the center of attention in the relationship of Putin to helping Trump win, allegedly. Supposedly, it was Russia Today that helped him win by, I don't know, it was the connection was tenuous at best, but it didn't help the fact that C-SPAN looked as though it had been hacked by Russia Today. So at the time the feed was cut, Representative Maxine Waters of California was on the floor speaking about the SEC, and during the time it was cut, she spoke about the Trump and Russia. So it adds on top of the conspiracy theory, or I'm sure there's going to be, right now there are people writing their theories about what happened, how this happened. And this is going to fuel the hysteria. C-SPAN actually said in a statement that it was probably just a technical error. C-SPAN's television broadcast continued uninterrupted, so it was just a quote unquote hack. I shouldn't even use that word. But it was a interruption in their live stream on their site. Mrs. Maxine Waters said, at a time when our intelligence agencies are very confident and basically have confirmed that Russia hacked the DNC and other political interests, and then we have, while I'm on the floor of the House, talking about Trump and Russia, I get interfered with and interrupted by Russia Today. It's strange. It's odd. End quote. I mean, I don't know what to say. You know, they're going to take this and run with it as an example, of Russia meddling. But if you're going to interrupt anything, why interrupt? Nobody watches C-SPAN. I mean, okay, somebody watches C-SPAN, but for real, like if you really want to have an impact, interrupt Fox News or CNN. Like that's some shit that would make Americans turn their head and say, holy shit, right? Nobody really cared that much about what Maxine Waters had to say. I'm just gonna be honest with you, Maxine. I like you. You're great. You do what you do, all that good stuff. But what you're saying, it's essentially the same stuff that you would tweet. Nobody really cares. So it's not as though Russia was coming to say, oh, we have to interrupt this broadcast because Congresswoman Maxine Waters is going to say something so pivotal that we cannot allow the American people to hear it. No, that's not what happened. But it is good fodder for people who are living in the, I guarantee you. I mean, I almost want to test this. Why don't you guys don't leave the show. Wait till the show is over. But Google. And I bet you there's at least 10 liberal clickbait sites that are covering this as though Russia intentionally did this against C-SPAN. But again, there are bigger targets than C-SPAN. I'm sure there's some people who stream live on YouTube who get more viewers than C-SPAN. And again, I don't think what Waters had to say was so substantive and so controversial that Russia had to personally, I guess I just anthropomorphized Russia. But the Russian government had to personally get involved in hacking what she said. I don't think that's the case. It's not going to be the case at all. All right, caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Ben, this is Bryce. So when it comes to this whole Russia thing and Trump and what we talked about earlier, actually a couple of days ago, about how Trump kind of said one thing and said a different thing, then, kind of, I guess, playing into it because Brandon yesterday was talking about how Republicans, know how to play the game and about how the Democrats are just, all over the place, and we know how their stuff is all, twisted in the sense of, they're all just messed up and liberal, neo-centric in a sense. And I guess my whole point is that everybody is Russia, Russia, Russia. And regardless if they did something or not, or regardless of not even regardless what's the truth or not, but my whole thing is when Republicans kind of like, if they know how to play the game, what's the point of them going back and forth or doing these sessions where they're basically getting grilled and they have to we didn't know what happened, or well, we did say that, but it's really the Democrats. But we understand about the Democrat situation, but it's like, why are y'all saying these things? I understand about playing the game, but it makes them look dumb. Like it doesn't make them look smart. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's like we know the Democrats. We know their shit. We know the problems. We've gone over it as progressives, which is important. But when Republicans kind of do that, that just throws me off. It just seems to confuse me.
Yeah. I would say on both sides, Bryce, thanks for the call, man. It's kabuki theater, if I could take Nick's favorite phrase, right? I believe it's just show and tell. They know the situation. They already know how these people are going to answer. All the testimonies are submitted. Most of the questions are submitted beforehand. Everybody know what's going to happen. And it's a dog and pony show, right? If I could use another colloquial, it's a dog and pony show that is meant, nothing else is meant to happen except for them to get some political points. That's it. But they already know the outcome. Most of the time, we know, unless there's something spectacular, unless somebody goes off script and does something spectacular that we never thought they would have done. But most of the time, they know the questions, they know the answers, they have the testimonies in advance, their staff has screened it, everybody knows everything about it. And so it's all just a dog and pony show in so many ways. Thanks for the call, man. All right, let's keep trucking. And again, the phone lines are open, 857-600-0518 if you want to jump in on the conversation. So let's talk about Matt Manueller. Matt Manueller is he's a representative. He's a leading member of the Washington State Legislature. And he's on the committee that considers workers' rights. And he's come to the forefront because of, well, I'm going to see if I can show you on the screen better. I can show you better than I can tell you. So Matt Manueller, basically, he's on the committee to have the interest of workers' rights in mind, but he's against the minimum wage. And not only is he against the minimum wage, he's terribly vexed that the minimum wage in Seattle was raised to $15 an hour. And so in the light of the victory, that most people consider this a victory, because you can't really, you can't live in Seattle on a lot less than $15 an hour. You're still going to be struggling. And so most people consider this a victory. Matt Manueller, who's a representative, right? He's an elected official, and he's charged with working on behalf of workers' rights. Most people are congratulating each other on the thousands of Seattle minimum wage workers who actually got a victory. They got a raise, $15 an hour. And Matt Manueller, he tweets out, no, it's not congratulations. It's actually condolences to those who will never get hired because of the increase in the minimum wage. And apologies. This is actually his tweet. Apologies to those who still believe in science. I don't know what the hell he was talking about there. I mean, maybe it was an inside joke. So Initiative 1433 is the victory that they got. It's going to eventually raise the minimum wage to $13.50 in the state of Washington and provide employees the initial opportunity to earn sick leave days. We actually have an article about this on theprogressivearmy.com, and you should go check it out. It was published by Andre Roberge. So it's a victory. It's a sure enough victory. And, of course, you're going to always, it's not so much to be surprised that he's against it. It's the crass nature of his opposition. And you'll see why. We'll talk about it a little more. But there's always going to be people who forward this idea that raising the minimum wage, which hasn't been raised to match the efficiency of the workers or to match inflation, right? So let's be real. Minimum wage workers are due a raise. But you always have the opposition to it who say that the hike is going to increase the cost of our burgers. And I always want to ask these people, they haven't really raised the minimum wage in a long time. And what I used to get for $2.99 at McDonald's, you got to pay about $9.99 for now. So they raised the prices anyway, right? It's a red herring at best, right? Because the prices have consistently increased. The difference has gone to corporations. It hasn't gone to their labor, right? And we pick up the cost for labor for the lack of salary being paid to these workers. We pick it up by them being on our safety nets, food stamps, welfare, right? McDonald's in particular, Walmart also in particular, they don't make enough money at these organizations to actually live. And so corporations have been raising prices anyway. Anytime somebody asks you, oh, you want to pay more for your burger? Say, bitch, I've been paying more for my burger every year. Every year my burger goes up. It's getting expensive. It gets very, very expensive to eat junk food and to go shop at some of these big box stores, right? Because the prices have steadily increased. Yes, I think Walmart might actually buck that trend, but they buck it so hard that they can't even afford to maintain some basic things that help keep the store safe, right? There's a big expose on how Walmart tried to cut their prices so low that they could not even afford the same amount of workers. So it's like you're stuck in between all of these worlds. And let me finish that thought. I'm sorry. They could not afford the same amount of workers, and they no longer had the deterrent to all of the shoplifting that took place. And so now there's a massive amount of shoplifting that takes place because Walmart wants to maximize their profits at the expense of labor. And so you're going to always have corporations who do things at the expense of labor. And that's why we elect officials who can basically represent the interests of the people against these large corporations. I mean, and I'm going to get back to Manuela in a second, but now that we're on this conceptually, it's something we really have to discuss because, we have big business. Let's do it very simplistically. Let's go to the kindergarten level. You have big business, and big business is looking out for itself. Can we all agree to that, right? I think everybody ideologically can agree that big businesses do what's in the best interest of the business. Republicans and conservatives and all neoliberals are going to try to convince you that what's in the best interest of the big business is also in the best interest of the body politic, the people, and labor. That's bullshit, right? That's complete 100% bullshit. And that's why let me finish. Let me unpack it a little more. All right. Big businesses, whatever's in the best interest of the big business is not necessarily in the best interest of the people, not necessarily in the best interest of labor, and not necessarily in the best interest of the government. But conservatives and neoliberals want to convince you of that. All right, now you got that. Who can actually help protect us from big business? It's not the disparate individuals that make up America, because individually we are subjected to massive marketing campaigns. We're almost like Pavlov's dog, right? Right jingle comes on, we're going to get up and go buy their shit because we've been inundated by all of the propaganda, all of the otherwise known as marketing. We have been inundated and controlled by it. So who is going to actually represent the best interests of the people, labor, and the body politic against big business, particularly where the interests of big business are contrary to the interests of the people? Who's going to do it? It's supposed to be our politicians, but kiss my ass if you can find one right now who's actually doing it besides Bernie Sanders and his crew. So we elect these people to actually do what's in the best interest of the people, we the people, and they have always, without question, done what's in the best interest of big business. Big business doesn't need to be protected from the people need to be protected from big business. All right, coming back to Matt Manuela, he's elected to represent the people, and he serves on a committee to actually serve labor. And in the face of something that's actually beneficial to labor, he spins it as something that's negative against labor. And he goes even further. When he was asked about minimum wage, he tweeted out to Goldie H.A. He said, yes, $0 would be the perfect minimum wage. And this is not a radical statement anymore. This is actually the position of many Republicans, libertarians. Many of them believe that the minimum wage is anti-business. And then this is what they always try to sell you the spin. Read through the spin. The spin is this: if you have a minimum wage, it's going to prevent your teenagers from getting some starting jobs because nobody's going to hire your teenager at $15 an hour. Truth of the matter is, it's not teenagers who need the $15 an hour. It's the 70-year-old retiree who has no retirement. So we're not talking about kids, but they try to spin it that way to say, oh, think about the babies. And you have in general, they feel like it's anti-business because it's interfering with the markets. They believe in the free markets up until the point where it interferes with the profits of their donors. Right. So it's not even a free market thing. We have plenty of things that interfere in the free market to the benefit of big business. They just don't want you to interfere with the free market to the benefit of labor. I'm on one tonight, y'all. I'm feeling it tonight. All right. So now back to Manuela. He goes and says that it's the perfect minimum wage is $0. This is a person who's supposed to be representing labor, serves on a committee to represent the workers. And we have literally put the fox in the hen house. This guy has zero regard for labor, and yet he's representing labor. I mean, it's like getting, I don't know, I don't have anything to compare it to. It's like taking, I don't want to use drugs because there's a lot of addicts in the world. It's like putting Hugh Hefner in Penthouse, right? He's clearly going to take advantage of Penthouse because that's just, he's the vulture. It's like, you put people, and this is why I have to be so careful on local elections, because when you elect these local statewide officials or these local council members, you have to realize their nationalized ideology transcends locally. And so what they believe based on whatever the hell Run Paul, whatever libertarian is feeding them about a zero minimum wage or no minimum wage, rather, or whatever conservatism is feeding them, they're going to bring that and they're going to nationalize your local politics based on that rhetoric. So you have to pay attention to these people like Manuela. So it even gets a little worse. Manuela actually was in an email exchange, and I have the images. They'll be posted afterwards. He was in an email exchange. They were questioning him about zero as the minimum wage, and a constituent actually questioned. I think I have this image prepared. This is even better, right? That's good. The constituent was asking him about, what do you mean? What do you mean about a zero minimum wage? That was done away with at the end of the Civil War. Do I have it? Yeah, I do. Here we go. This is the exchange. And of course, this email is public, so that's why we have it there. In the exchange at the bottom, if you start at the bottom, the constituent is asking him about his tweet. Zero is the minimum wage. Sorry, but that was eliminated by the Civil War. He returns and says, add that to the list of mistakes that were made during the Civil War. Now, some people take this as a means of saying that he's comparing like the minimum wage to slavery. I'm not going to go that far. I'm just going to say this just shows you how idiotic this elected representative is, to crassly compare. Actually, no, let me double back. What the hell do you mean? What mistakes were made in the Civil War? See, now you got to clarify, because I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt, because honestly, what mistakes were made? The fact that we fought it, or the fact that it was used to end slavery? What mistakes? Are you saying the Reconstruction? Maybe you're saying that we should not have reconstructed the South and brought them back in? Is that what you're saying? Because that puts you on the opposite side of the accusation, right? Where are the mistakes in the Civil War? See, I was going to be gracious for a second, but then I realized who I'm dealing with and the type of mentality of what we're dealing with. He needs to answer. He needs to answer, and he needs to clarify, because statements, that shit just doesn't. I have all kind of vernacular getting ready to come out for this dude. It just doesn't jive well with me, to be honest with you. It doesn't sit well with me for an elected representative to compare minimum wage to the Civil War and to speak of the Civil War as if it was a mistake. Which part? So anyway, there was a radio show that interviewed him, and actually I think I have an image of this dude. Let me pull the image of this guy up so you can see how brilliant he doesn't look. Yeah, I'm talking about how you look, bro. There you go. I gotta move that TV. This guy. Anyway, so a radio host had a chance to speak with Manuela, and he is getting criticized by the Working Washington, and he said, quote, he said, I wasn't surprised to be getting criticized by Working Washington, which he considers to be a dishonest socialist front group. Oh no, socialism. He said to suggest that anyone support, and these are actually the words of the radio host that interviewed him. He said to suggest that anyone supports slavery or that people should not get paid for work is patently absurd. No one I know thinks this. Obviously, I don't think that. As to the mistakes made during the Civil War, he said the mass killings of civilians during the New York draft riots. Okay, I guess you're gonna say. I guess I could stop there and guess the rest. The march through Georgia, the burning down. All the war crimes. So the war crimes part. Here's a problem. Okay, no, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and read the rest. The rehiring of George McClellan after he was relieved of command, ignoring the writ of habeas corpus, and the ex parte Merriman case. Yeah, that was a I guess that was a mistake, war crime ish. Anyway, using military tribunals to try civilians. I mean, this dude, in order to cover, let's be real, right? In order to justify this gross statement, he went and got his history book and looked up all the bad shit we did in the Civil War. All right. He said, quote, I stand by my view that the minimum wage laws are harmful. They kill jobs, disproportionately hurt minorities, young people, and immigrants. What I tell you. Simply put, minimum wage laws do more harm than good. Bullshit. This does not mean that people shouldn't get paid a fair wage for their work. It means free people should be allowed to freely negotiate their wages with other free people and come to a voluntary and mutually agreed upon wage, which I am sure he's against unions too, listening to this language. That's the way markets have always worked. No, the government has no business telling people what they can and cannot work for. Okay. This goes back to the broken, piss poor ideology of libertarianism and more of your right-leaning conservatives, further right conservatives. They honestly think that the ideal situation is for you as an individual to negotiate with a corporation for your salary. Now, this works. This works if you are a headhunted CEO. This works great if you're like the elite of the elite with the Harvard education and the work at Goldman Sachs, and you basically can write your check. It works great because you can go in and say, I expect to get paid $13 million a year, but I also expect $180 million in stock options. This works great for you. You know who it doesn't work great for? Low-wage workers. But yet they want to sell you the pipe dream that the free thing to do, the freedom thing, the freedom way is for you as an individual to be able to go and negotiate your wages. And if you want to take $4 an hour for your wages, you should be able to take $4 an hour for your wages. Without collective bargaining, the average worker is 100% screwed. Without a government fighting on behalf of labor, all of the American workforce, everyone who has to work for wages is 100% screwed. And we have elected people like Manueller, who looks like Bobo the Clown. We've elected the hens into the fox into the hen house. We've elected people who have zero interest in protecting the best interests of workers against corporations, because let nobody fool you. It is a battle. Every time you go to negotiate, and most people don't even get a chance to negotiate. What the hell am I talking about? Like, I'm in the privileged crowd that actually gets to sit down and negotiate my salary. Most people don't get a second to even consider. They take whatever they can get. And without leadership to actually fight on behalf of those people, they will get taken advantage of by big business every single day. And instead of doing what's in the best interest of the people from whom they were elected and for whom they're supposed to represent, they always capitulate and serve big business. And then they try to convince you with some freedom. Freedom says that you can negotiate for yourself. Go in there and negotiate the very best deal that you can. And that's the American way. No, the American way has been for elected politicians to forget about and erase the needs of their constituents so that they can buddy up with the corporations who donate money to their campaigns. That's the American way, and that's what we have to change. 857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question? Caller.
Hello, Ben.
Yeah, you're live, 612. Your phone sounds great, man. What's your name?
How you doing, Ben? My name's Gabriel. I live in Austin. Sub for about a month. Love the show.
Thanks.
Just wanted to ask you, kind of related to what you've been talking about. In a recent episode of TYT, Cenk had brought up the Jeff Sessions things about, he wasn't confirmed 30 years ago, but now he's about to be confirmed for a, even higher position in law enforcement. And I wanted to know what you thought about not only race relations between then and now, because there's a lot to say about that, but it seems like there's obviously an obvious direct relation between, I don't want to be too blunt with this, but how the white middle class is doing, because they're hurting worse than they were 30 years ago, and race relations. I feel like when I was a little kid in the 80s, you would have never seen, or maybe I was just, obviously too young and too naive, but I feel like, you never heard about these kind of things being thrown around, these obvious racialisms. And then obviously after President Obama was elected, everybody was so happy. And then soon enough, the birthers came around and they just totally perverted the whole thing.
It got crazy.
So I really
quick.
wanted to know your opinion on like 30 years ago versus now and how that relates to the economics too. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'll take a stab at that. So let me get this dude off my camera though, because, he's problematic. So let's be sure, like, racism is embedded in America, has been embedded in America, and is never going anywhere. Sorry. I hate to tell everybody, it's not going anywhere. It probably won't go anywhere until white genocide, as defined by the white nationalists and neo-Nazis, actually occurs. And they define it by the browning of America and the end of the white race because of interracial marriages and, having children with brown people and black people. So until all of America looks the same exact way, and I'm sure then we'll find a new way to have a new level of racism. So I don't think racism is going anywhere. That's number one. Number two, in the 80s, the racism was nicely curated. It was a fine wine compared to the Mad Dog 2020, the shit we get today, right? It was there. It was just welfare queens and young studs and Cadillac welfare moms, right? The shit that Ronald Reagan was saying. There was very dog whistle. It was very much a dog whistle. It was his way of being racist and stroking that racist sentiment in a lot of white America, right? He could say it without ever being, without anyone being able to come to say you're being a racist, right? Because he could say welfare queens, and in the minds of racists, they're thinking, yeah, the black woman driving around in her Cadillac and she's going to get steak and lobsters. Actually, they're not going to say it like that. They're going to say, yeah, them black women going around with 6 children. They got 5, 6 children. They in line getting lobsters and I'm eating bologna. He could say welfare queen and they would think that, and he would never be held accountable for it because he'd say, I'm talking about all, everyone who takes welfare. So it was professional, fine. It was finely curated. It was magnificent racism compared to the shit we have today where, they just call Michelle Obama a gorilla, right? Or, it's just, we've just degraded. We just did away with the dog whistle and we've just come out with the loud and proud neo-Nazis. Like neo-Nazis couldn't be loud and proud back in the 80s. They were in the closets, now they have their Nazi parade, loud and proud. So I don't want anyone to fool themselves to think that the racism was worse or better. I think it's the same. I just think it's how it's delivered. I do find the greatest irony, though, that this means that today someone like Jeff Sessions, who was too racist in the 80s to get confirmed, can now get confirmed. Because, what's the threshold? Donald Trump can call Mexicans rapists and get elected president of the United States. So I think it's less about a shift in the type of racism. No, I'm sorry. It's less about a shift in the amount of racism in America and more about the shift in the type of racism. We've just done away with the dog whistles. The racism was always here. It's just now out loud, proud, unabashed, unashamed. And just like to let the racists know, fools jump up to get smacked down. Like I'm a Christian and I try to be peaceful and forgiving, but a bitch will get slapped. So just keep that in mind in this loud and proud and, you're free to be, all this shit. Don't get it twisted. We're not that intelligent. we will act crazy on you real quick, fast, and in a hurry. Yeah. And I don't advocate violence for anybody else. My life, on the other hand. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and your question? 818, you're live.
Hey, Ben, this is Steve over in Washington. Thanks for taking the call.
Hey, anytime, man.
Your story about Matt Manuel, I mean, the GOP in the state and in the country doesn't do anything to represent the working class. And I'm this close to abandoning the Democrats as well in their representation of the working class. And I don't know if you were going to address this, so I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but they had a chance today to pass a bill to allow importation of pharmaceuticals from Canada. Yep. And we had Cory Booker voting against it. We had both of my Democratic senators from the state of Washington voting against it. And we had like Ted Cruz voting for it, and we had Rand Paul voting for it, and just the chance that they had to well, I hate saying this, to be part of the resistance. I don't know what you feel about the resistance. But the chance they had to do that and stand up for the working class infuriated me so much. And so I guess my question for you is, I know we've been talking about trying to push Democrats to the left and pushing them back to where they represent the working class. But after what they did today, do you think there's any possibility of that, or should we be trying to
That's a great
address
question,
it a different way? And
that's a great question.
I'll take it off the air. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the question. So, truth be told, I think both and it's both and. One, a little bit more to the audience about what happened. Senator Sanders, along with another senator, proposed a bill that would allow for the import prescription drugs from Canada, which clearly is going to import drugs at a far less expense than what we have here in the United States. Like, it's impossible to compare the two, right? How much people would save. 12 Republicans voted in favor of it, and 13 Democrats, I may have those numbers transposed, but 13 Democrats voted against it, including Cory Booker, who is positioning himself to run for 2020. Let me just take a minute and state here, like, I'm trying my best out of solidarity with all blackness and everything else not to come for Cory Booker, but I swear, if Cory Booker even tries to run for office, I mean, we need an all hands on deck to crush his campaign before it even starts. Yes, you can quote me on that. You can send that out, because Cory Booker is the quintessential black neoliberal, period. But the neoliberal multiculturalism, because he's black and he's a nice guy, and people think I saw somewhere they said that they thought he was Captain America because he would run into buildings and save people, but then when they needed to get a meeting with him in his town, they couldn't get him because he was on MSNBC. He was too busy. And one constituent, I forgot where I read this article, but it was a brilliant statement on him. She said that they voted him for Senate so they can get him out of their city. All right. So I think Cory Booker has been on my bottom list of my shit list since he came out trying to defend, like, don't get me wrong, Obama didn't do anything about it. But back when the question was about Bain Capital and their type of business, he came out in defense of Bain Capital against his own president. Like, and don't get me wrong, it's not like Obama actually did anything about it, but at least when we're having a national conversation on the nature of vulture capitalism, you would expect that the Democrats would at least be in sync with their president, who actually had a more populist position. But the person who went against them during that campaign was Cory Booker. So he's been on the bottom of my shit list since then, because he revealed himself to be the corporate shill that he is. He's also, I believe, the number one or the number two recipient of donations from the pharmaceutical industries. And so he puts out a tweet today saying that he's 100% in favor of importing drugs, but he just want to make sure, I just got to make sure that they're safe. And the vote today had absolutely nothing to do with the nature of the safety or the regulation. It had everything to do with the ability to have a debate about it, and he voted it down. So Cory Booker's dreams for 2020 need to 100% be buried today. Now, to your bigger question. Your bigger question is there any hope for the Democratic Party? I don't know. I don't think so. Me personally, I'm like, to hell with the Democratic Party. However, I think it has to be both and, right? I can't allow my disillusionment with the Democratic Party to jade other people who feel like they can work with the Democratic Party. But I will say this, the progressive movement 100% needs to be able to exist, operate, mobilize, and fundraise outside of the framework of the Democratic Party. Not just do it, but do it so well that we have to be reckoned with when it comes election time, where you're not looking to us to get our vote. You're coming to us to see what you have to give up to get our vote. Like none of this, oh, progressives don't have anywhere else to go business. That needs to end now. It's done by 2018. We need to be so organized outside of the Democratic Party that we bring pain to the Democratic Party, that we extract concessions from them, or for that matter, from the Republican Party, or from whatever party we feel is going to give up the concessions that we are demanding. But we cannot do that from within the Democratic Party. We have to organize outside of the Democratic Party. And if that organization is strong enough and has enough tentacles spread across the nation, and they want to run local elections, and they get large enough in 2020, then maybe a third party. But I'm not waiting for a third party. What's most important, forget about a party. What's most important is the organization, the activism, people, boots on the ground, organizing locally as a progressive movement, and a solidified one that's galvanized into a coherent movement, so that we move as a block. And when we move as a block, we bring a hammer and a sickle. Anyway, 857-600-0518. I think we had a couple other callers and I lost them. Yeah, somebody just gave me the safety issue. Yeah, totally BS, because it was written in the bill by Bernie Sanders. It's all a scam. It's all a dog and pony show. And the question is, are you going to allow? I mean, this dude just got straight on Twitter and lied about it. Cory Booker, man, that's a sociopathy. That's a level of derangement that has to be challenged. Like, you're not going to get in my face and smile and lie to me and expect me to just sit there and be like, oh, well, he smiled when he said it, so it must be true. All right. Actually, do I have any more stories here? Let me go back to my OneNote. Manuela, take dirt. Silicon Valley. No, I don't really care about that story tonight. I'll do that one tomorrow. Comey, special treatment, 13 Democrats. Oh, somebody put it there. Oh, here it is. ProgressiveArmy.com. That's what's up. Hang on, let me start this clip over. So ProgressiveArmy.com by Salam Marcos. Ooh, it's getting some good traction. You guys go read this. Meet the 13 Democrats who oppose lowering drug prices. And I actually can bring this on the screen. Booyaka. Let's do that. Let's bring up the Progressive Army article. All right, so these are the 13. There's Cory Booker. Meet the 13 Democrats who oppose lowering drug prices by Salam Marcos, our managing editor. He's doing some great things over there at the Progressive Army. So we have, he has a slideshow on there. Let me see if he has just a documented list. Okay, so I don't have a quick list that I can pull. But anyway, go to progressivearmy.com and look for this article about the 13 Democrats who oppose lowering prices. Cory Booker is the leader amongst them. Serious, folks. I mean, I can't stress this enough. I think Cory Booker, like, for some of you, it was Barack Obama. Barack Obama, for some of you, triggered you. Like, once you realize who he was, that you realize he was just a neoliberal. He didn't trigger me because I kind of caught wind of it a little sooner. I caught wind of Barack Obama's neoliberalism when he appointed Timothy Geithner, which was like the first Treasury Secretary for Obama in 2008. I'm like, oh, this is the same thing that we would have gotten with John McCain. But Cory Booker triggers me. I'm going to be honest with you. Cory Booker is just a dude that I just don't like, because he is playing a game. He's playing a game of, oh, I'm an eloquent, moderately decent looking black guy. I'm intelligent and I've been the mayor and now I'm a senator and I like to listen to pop music in my car. I'm the young guy and I'm in, and it's like, it's so insulting. It's insulting to our intelligence because, bruh, like, you're like, you should have ran 8 years ago. You would have been the hot shit 8 years ago. People would have believed in that. It's like you completely missed out on the evolution of progressives over the last 8 years. And it's like we see through the bullshit. You cannot come to us with progressive populist language and we can look at your record and see that you are nothing more than a neoliberal shill. But you have the nerve to try to put a populist spin on top of it and give your Barack Obama 2004 speech at the DNC. Nobody cares about that. What we care about is what you believe in and what you fight for. And you have shown us, Corey, that you fight for pharmaceutical. No, I can be even more general. You fight for your donors and not the people. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
This is Brianna Guy.
Hey, Brianna, it's good to hear from you. What's on your mind?
On my mind is that, I totally percent agree that with Cory Booker and 12, 13 other Democrats that voted against Bernie Sanders' bill.
Yep, 13.
And we had and it just proves that we have people in the Democrat Party that are even more corrupt than people like Ted Cruz.
Yeah, Ted Cruz voted. Well, I can't say more corrupt, but on this issue, absolutely. I mean, Ted Cruz got some other shit going on with him, but yeah, I'm with you though. Go ahead.
Well, and I say 2018. I'm not sure how many of these Democrats that voted for or voted against the bill are up for re-election, but as many as they are that are up for election, they got to go. We got to primary the hell out of these guys. They got to go. They just proved themselves yesterday that they're not with us. They're not part of the quote-unquote resistance, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
They need to go. And they don't, they just got to go. Cory Booker, all of them have to go. And also the Democrat Party, I feel like we have to do it both ways. We have to have an organized movement to attack on the front, but also we have to infiltrate on the inside. Kind of like in the Democrat Party in California when we won all those progressive seats. We got to do both.
Yeah.
Because I hate to say it. I hate to say this, but the Green Party is not going to come to the rescue in 4 years. I'm gonna
be honest with you. It's one of the least popular things that I say on my show. I get a lot of hell when I say this, but just looking at what happened in this full-on revolt against the DNC and the Green Party still didn't get 1% nationwide, they're not going to be able to change what we need changed in 2020, or 2018 for that matter. However, there's a possibility, and that possibility means that we can't lean on a party. We have to lean on each other as progressives, organize, keep ourselves galvanized, get our lines of communication so wide open so that when we speak, we're speaking to millions of progressives instead of tens of progressives. And once we do that, then we could take our coalition wherever we see fit. If it goes to the Green Party, then it goes to the Green Party and we help them get way over 1%. You know what I mean? We help them get something that's actually competable. Like we crush the Democratic Party in that regard. And if we decide to go to the Democratic Party, it's not without massive concessions. I mean, like so many concessions that I don't even think that they would take it. Right. And then there's a possibility. We've seen Republicans be pushed to the left by progressive movements. We saw with Nixon and the EPA. So we need to organize 100% outside of the Democratic Party and then take that coalition wherever we're going to be able to extract the most political concessions. Otherwise, we will always be unorganized and feckless against the Democratic machine. It's 100% about what we're doing right now today. Who's organizing and what are they doing with that organization? Thanks so much for the call. I think we're just about out of time here. 9:59 is a good time as any. I started on time tonight, so I can say good night on time tonight. See you later.
The Benjamin Dixon Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
It's Ben Dixon!
If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.